The things that used to bring me joy no longer do. This is Tracy with Tracy Talks, a podcast about life, looking at life from a new perspective to gain wisdom and understanding in hopes to know yourself more. Something that no one really talks about is we can hit this point in midlife when the things that used to bring us joy and happiness, they don't anymore. I find myself having to navigate in this new area. I know I've talked about this before, but I just assumed as I aged that I would settle into an identity. I would settle into myself. I would have this constant, secure environment around me, and I would just go through the motions, but be happy with that. But that's not been the circumstance. And here I am at this point in my life having to figure out, what do I want to do now? The things that I used to enjoy, that used to bring me satisfaction, they don't anymore. I don't care about those things. I don't want to invest my time in those things. And this is, some small things to my purpose. There were careers that I had in the past that challenged me, and I enjoyed that. But I don't want to be challenged in those same ways anymore. I don't want to prove myself. I don't want to strive in those ways anymore. So much of that life was dependent upon someone else validating me. Either a boss, a company, somebody else was validating me as a person. I was fulfilling a role, and they were providing me with validation. And that used to feel satisfying. I no longer care about that. I no longer care about somebody else validating me and giving me a score and grading me. I've learned that it's all subjective. You can have two different bosses in a company and they're going to grade you differently. That doesn't even mean that I'm doing a bad job. It's just a preference. I no longer wish to be dependent upon somebody else's opinion. In one sense, this is a very freeing place to be, to know that if and when someone provides me feedback, it's no longer the end of the world. My identity has grown in strength. My level of self has become stronger. And I realize that I am not fragile. I don't need to depend on and respond to others' opinions. It also leaves me in this place where I'm in self-discovery again. Our kids have an opinion of us. There used to be a time when that was soul-crushing, to know that a child didn't perceive me in the highest of lights. That used to be soul-crushing. It used to be soul-crushing to know that I didn't have my parents' approval. It used to be soul-crushing that a boss was disappointed in my performance. It used to be soul-crushing to know that a partner was disappointed in my response or behavior. That isn't the case anymore. I am not dependent upon someone else's response. I no longer need the feedback. And frankly, I no longer want the feedback. So many of us have walked this path, and I have walked this path that people don't understand what I have lived through and what I've experienced. Do they need to know? No, not really. But a lot of people want to have an opinion on the choices that I make, or the choices that I did make. But again, so many people along the way have such a narrow vision of what was actually happening. People can only see small little cracks of what is actually going on. And their opinion really is irrelevant. Unless somebody knows the whole story, the whole journey, the whole path, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they think. And even if they do know the whole story, I am very different than the people that are around me. All of this is just to say that I have entered into this unknown territory in my life. It feels very freeing. It feels very expansive to know that I'm not going to really change or alter my course based on how somebody reacts or responds. And so that feels really good. But yet, this isn't where I thought I was going to be. I didn't think I was going to hit the second half of my life and have to enter this self-discovery period. So many of the things that brought me to this point have naturally come to an end. Significant relationships came to an end. The children are moving on. They have their own lives. That has come to an end. My parents, that relationship is not, it hasn't ended, but it's certainly significantly changed in the dynamic. They are no longer providing emotional support. They are no longer providing the feedback. They've entered into a different stage of life. And so all of these relationships that I have had and that have carried me to this point have reached a maturation point, and they have entered into a cycle where they are ending. I'm looking around thinking, what is next? What is the next chapter for me? I used to enjoy doing things. Let's say, for example, I used to enjoy working outside, planting shrubs and flowers and working in the garden. And while I still love doing that, I don't have endless amounts of energy like I used to. I can't spend a whole Saturday digging in the dirt anymore because I won't be able to move on Sunday. And so where does that leave me then? If the things that were a constant in my life, if the relationships have ended, if my hobbies are changing, then what am I moving towards? I have a new house project. And there was a time in my life when I loved having projects. And now the amount of time and the effort and everything that's going into it, it doesn't feel as rewarding. I know I will love it when it's completed, but I'm having concerns that I will be able to complete it. It's like I have woke up from this dream and I'm looking around and realizing that everything has just changed. I have changed. My relationships have changed. What does that mean? Where do I go from here? I know that the old playbook, it doesn't work anymore. Those plays, those moves, those hobbies, those ways of living don't have the same impact. They don't matter as much. They don't feel the same. Add on top of that, the world is changing. And I guess that's probably a good point. My playbook has been thrown out the window, that I'm not holding on to a structure that I used to because the world is changing. Even if I wanted to continue in the way that I always had, the world isn't staying the same. The world isn't stagnant. If anything, the world and where it's moving to and progressing is speeding up. When I was younger, there was this process of, setting goals and what do you want for your 5 years and what do you want in 10 years. You know what? I can't even think that far down anymore. We're talking 6 months to a year. And it's not about me trying to live into a future version anymore. Because I did that. I did that for so long. I tried to move towards this version that was in my head. And it was never a version I reached. And it was never a version that felt fulfilling. And what I've learned is I have to live in this moment. I can have a loose vision, an idea of maybe where I want to go, but I have to be in this moment. I have to feel into this moment. I have to be honest about what I'm feeling and then take steps each day to try to find the joy, to try to be connected to who I am. The only thing that's really in my playbook anymore is love myself first and move towards the joy. That's about all I can do right now. I think that's really a good playbook for all of us. If something isn't bringing me joy, I can't follow it anymore. I can't move in that direction. What is that phrase? It's the devil that we know. And that's why we do it. That's why we follow it, because we know it. We know what it feels like. Because that unknown, that vast, wide open, it can be scary. But yet that's where I'm at. I'm in that wide open, and you know what? I'm here. It's not scary. It's not. Thank you for listening to this podcast of Tracy Talks. Please like and share with others who would enjoy listening to this podcast. And until next time, we meet again.